That's a vacation reference from, I think, his college ATO days. Is that right?
It is.
Okay. So he's Al, Scott, Rusty, Carter, and maybe a few other names that I'm not familiar with.
That's fantastic.
Okay. So, years ago, and I think it was, where's Michelle Borzio? So I think it was through Michelle Borzio and Jeff McClellan that I met this guy. And, you know, we knew each other like typical Delaware fashion, you know, you see around. So I'm at the YMCA one day. Oh, and as if Al Scott Rusty's not up, he's also a race car driver. Has anyone ever heard of Sebring Racetrack and Club? Well, he took first place there this weekend. And there's a big race called the Rolex 24-hour race with a team. He's sporting the prize. He's a Rolex 24 winner as well. But, so we're in the Y one day, separately working out. He comes over to me. This is, I don't know, geez, 10 years ago, 11 years ago. And he says, I want Be Positive to be the sponsor of our race car. And I'm thinking to myself, hell no. I am not going to take donor money and sponsor a race car. And he says to me, and it won't cost you a penny. I go, hell yeah! I think it's a brilliant idea. Why didn't I think of that, Scott? I'll call you Al, I'll call you whatever you want. Junior, Earnhardt, whatever you want. And so, that began the Be Positive Racing program. There is a painting at Aggie Pond. That was a painting of the race car, painted by children with cancer, under the supervision of a French artist. We would go around, when I say we, the other drivers, a guy named Hugh Plum, some of you may know Hugh, and so me, I would call him Al, because when I got to the track, I said, where's Scott? And they're like, who's that? I'm like, you know, Carter. Oh, Al. I'm like, okay. So if I'm not in Delaware, I was calling him Al. So Al, Hugh, and I would visit children's hospitals before each race. And these guys would go in, and the kids' eyes would light up. And no offense to you, but they thought you were Jimmy Johnson. And I'm like, you were as big to them as a Jimmy Johnson or Dale Earnhardt. And that these kids were just gaga. And it was so nice to see them forgetting about cancer for a little while. And we had an event at Northwestern, and he and Hugh were literally crowd surfing at the student dance marathon. And we visited a hospital, and there was a woman named Dr. Mary Lou Schmidt. And she was telling me that at her hospital, children were eligible for a certain clinical trial, that the children at the, quote, poor hospital nearby were not eligible for. And keep in mind, this was probably 3 years into me doing this. I thought, maybe I was naive. I thought, are you serious? Kids at that hospital don't have the same chance to live as that hospital? And they were that close together. And she said, yeah. I said, well, how much do you need? She said, $50,000. I said, well, we're going to raise it. The racing program's going to raise it. And we raised it. And she came out to a race in Ohio. And I will tell you, I'll never forget, one of the other drivers, who usually was a little bit of a magnet, sorry, maybe even more of a magnet for the ladies than Al, was a guy named Patrick Dempsey. You may know him as Dr. McDreamy. So we get out there, and I'm taking Dr. Schmidt, I'm like, okay, I gotta do the obligatory meet Patrick Dempsey. And she's like, no, I wanna hop in the car, and she's in the Be Positive car. And we presented her a check for $50,000. And she said to me, when you came out to the hospital, you guys said you were going to raise $50,000. I'm sorry, she says, I thought you were bullshitting. I said, if I said we're going to raise $50,000 for you, we're going to raise $50,000, number one. Number two, no child, I don't care what their race is, what their religion is, what their income level is, what their political party is, no child should have a lesser chance of survival. That's just not acceptable. My son died. I want every child to have the best chance of success. And And so the racing program just took off. He introduced us to people. And this is what I want to talk about. You know, viral is usually a negative term. If it's, COVID, it's necessarily positive in social media. But what Scott did had a viral nature. We went out and through a gentleman that worked with Al, this guy named Emmanuel Loubet. He was a Frenchman, and he introduced us to a guy named Darren Austin, the publisher of Jet Set Magazine. Make a long story short, Jet Set Magazine has a contest called Miss Jet Set. Last year, they sent us a check for $386,000. They have a contest going on right now, gentlemen. It's called the Legendary Dad Bod Contest. There's still time to enter, John Kelly. Take that shirt off.
Nobody wants to see that.
You should see some of the pictures of the contestants. And we get 75% of the net proceeds of the Legendary Dad Bod Contest. Because of that introduction alone, the Miss Jet Set organization, we're getting over $1 million from that introduction you made. Aaron Dunphy, yes. Aaron Dunphy, I don't think is here right now. If he is, I raised his hand, I called him. So this is all a surprise. Aaron Dunphy was supposed to be here, but he didn't know he was going to be called up on stage. So for those of you who are not from Delaware, we have a very weird thing here with black license plates. It is bizarre, but it gives Aaron a good living. LowDigitstags.com, visit them. And he said, these two guys cooked up this idea with the Starboard Bar and Restaurant Dewey and said, okay, let's make up a bunch of little black tags that look like a license plate. And if you buy it, you and a guest get to jump the line. You know, that line can be down the block for the holidays and everything else. Now let's see what people pay for it. We're going to put it out on eBay. And I thought, okay, we get $50 a tag, whatever. There's 0 to 31. Well, first it was like 1 to 30. And then it worked so well, there's 0, 00, 31. This year, we thought we weren't going to be able to have it. We ended up having it in June, so we already missed Memorial Day. And we only did 20 tags. Every tag brought in at least $3,000, and the number one tag, these aren't for a race, for a car, these are little things like this big to get into the bar. The number one tag brought in $7,100. They raised $86,000 this year selling status. God bless them. I mean, 100 families will not face eviction because of a clever idea. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Brian Nolan, would you come up here?